Welcome! Welcome to Cambridge Prep, where we create opportunities for your success. We're a channel that creates education content so that you are confident in taking Cambridge subjects, for example, the IGCSE and A levels. Our videos are short and concise so you can understand the concepts easily. The purpose of our videos is really to help you be familiar with each subject. For example, the syllabus, content covered, how to choose the subject, what to look out for, etc. We also help you to be familiar with the examination requirements. For example, the examination format, duration, marks, expectations of each paper, number of sections, what each section is testing, how questions are asked, and so on. We provide guidance and practice for you to write the examination with confidence, so that you know your strengths and weaknesses in each subject and area. And lastly, we want you to have fun with your studies and exams, because we think that school is fun. So enjoy our videos and get that grade you deserve. Welcome! Welcome back to Cambridge Prep. Today we're going to look at the IGCSE 0417 ICT paper. Let's dive right in. When you arrive in the examination room, typically you see the examination files either on the desktop or in the downloads folder like what I have now. Usually the file is in a zip format and you can easily unzip it using your operating system. Here you see all the files given to you, the question papers and the work files. Today we're just going to look at paper 2, so we can unzip the paper 2 files and you can see all the files that's contained there. Now let's take a look at the question paper itself. Here we have the examination paper. Now you have to check that the paper is the correct paper that you are sitting for. Some students arrive late or are stressed, they walk into the wrong room and realize that it is not the paper they are sitting for. So please check carefully. Here we have Cambridge IGCSE ICT 0417 paper 2 and the March 2016 session for 2.5 hours. As with any examination, there are instructions, so let's go through them. First, write your name, center number, and candidate number in the spaces at the top of the page, right here. Write in dark blue or black pen. I find that some Asian students, they tend to write in pencil. Perhaps this could be cultural, or they get this habit from some other subjects, for example, math and science, where you write your equations and draw your diagrams in pencil where they can be easily erased or corrected. However, this is an examination instructions, pen only. Do not use staples, paper clips, glue, or correction fluid. The best thing to do is not to bring them into the examination room at all. Do not write in any barcodes so that the scanner device can read your paper correctly. Next, carry out all instructions in each step. You can track your progress through the examination by crossing out each question number. This means that you can actually write on the question paper itself. For example, you can write some equations or point you wish to write in your answer sheet. Now, this second sentence is the most important instruction on this paper. Enter your name, center number, and candidate number on every printout before it is sent to the printer. Printouts with handwritten candidate details will not be marked. I say again, they will not be marked. Now just imagine you just spent 2.5 hours working very hard to get everything right. But because you forgot 3 of these items, they will not be marked. Is this what you want? Is it worth it? I think not. Next, at the end of the examination, put this question paper and all your printouts into the assessment record folder. Now, perhaps some student, because of stress or they just panic, they forgot to put some of their printouts into the folder. Again, that's very unfortunate and something that you do not want. If you have produced rough copies of printouts, put a neat cross through each one to indicate that it is not the copy to be marked. Because if you forgot and did not cross through, this means that you want that piece of paper to be considered by the examiner. And if there are any mistakes on the paper, they will be taken into account. Again, this is not what you want. And lastly, write today's date in the box below. Now, these are very simple and short instructions, but they are very important. So please follow these instructions to the letter. Now, let's jump into the questions right away. Here we're on question 1. Now, in the ICT paper 2, you are being tested on document production, data manipulation, and presentations. And almost always, question 1 is about document production. You are tested on your knowledge of document production software like Microsoft Word, Apple Pages, and other open source software. As you can see, I'm on a Mac machine, and the software we're going to use today is LibreOffice. Now, there are many reasons why I chose this combination. Perhaps I will do a separate video on my choices of operating system and software. But for the time being, please download LibreOffice 7.1.5. This is an older version, but this means that it has been tested for longer, meaning it is more stable. So let's get back to the paper and let's get started. Before I start any question, I don't just jump straight into answering the questions immediately. I want to give myself some time to go through the whole question. I want to find out which areas or parts of the question I'm more confident in and which parts I'm not. In any ICT paper, the first part is always about the evidence document. As you can see here, evidence.rtf. You want to make sure your name, center number, and candidate number appear on every page, as we have gone through during the instructions. You need to save this file as an evidence in your work area. Now, this part is pretty standard. It is very common, and it is something that I've been doing for a long time, so I'm confident in. So we can quickly skip this to the questions. Here, this is where the question proper starts. What you'll be doing will be to scan for keywords to know what you need to do for the question. So for example, I know that I need to edit or change the page size, the orientation, the margins, give a new name, header, alignment, footer, house styles, blank line, apply the styles, title and subtitle, columns, subheadings, image manipulation, formatting the table, spell check, proofread, and the rest of the checks. So that's it for this question. Now, at this point in time, I feel confident because these are all the tasks which I'm familiar with, which I've done before. So with that, I can go into the question more confident and make less errors. With that, let's start doing the question. Question 1. Let's get started. Let's follow the instructions. Open the M16 evidence file. So let's go back to our Finder, in this case. Now we want to open this with the software of our choice. In this case, it is LibreOffice and not the default text editor, which is TextEdit. Okay, we open using LibreOffice. Resize so that we can fit our screen. And that's pretty much about it. Let's move on. Make sure your name, center number, candidate number appear on every page. So what you need to do here is to insert the header. In this case here, header and default page style. Now, if you take a look at this requirement or this task doesn't require you to place your name on the left side of the header, center number on the center, and candidate number on the right. Sometimes you do see that, and it is a default, maybe it's not default, but it is an option in Microsoft Word. Now in this case, it doesn't require you to do that. So we can just do it the simple way and just place everything that is left aligned. So let's start. We can say Cambridge Prep is our candidate name, and CP001, and our candidate number is 9999. We can save it. Now, this part, it will ask you to save it in the default format, which is the ODT file. It so ties in very well with this part, which is you need to save your evidence document in your work area as evidence. So here, this is what you can do. Save it as ODT file in the same folder, and all you need to do is to put your candidate number, take away the M16, and you're done. You can see here, evidence file 9999 ODT. And that's pretty much about it. This is very, very simple. Task 2. 1. Using a suitable software, load the file. Okay, M16 Project RTF. So you want to open with LibreOffice. Resize the page to something viewable, especially the width. You can see that this is landscape. Now there are two files open. One is the evidence file and one is the task file. Going back to the question, we have loaded that. So one thing you can do is you can set where you are. So you're going to check this, that it's done. And the next two tasks is to set the page size and orientation, A4 and portrait. You can go back. And this is found in page style. Now it's at B5. You want to set it to A4. And you want to set it as portrait. Click OK, and you're done. Now you can check off these two tasks. 2. Set all margins to be 2 cm. Okay, go back. And again, it is under Format, Page Style. Now notice that you see here that all the measurements are in inches. So what can you do? One thing you can do is, you can close this. Under LibreOffice, you go to Preference, and under Writer, General, you see that the measurement unit is inches, which is the default. You can change that to centimeter and click OK. Go back, Page Style, and you notice that it is now in cm. So we have to change this to 2 cm, 2 cm, 2 cm. Okay, and you're done. See, now it's smaller. Going back, and this is done. Now you have to place this as an evidence. Screenshot, size, and margin settings in your evidence folder. So what you can do, go back and select the format, bring out the page style again, and this is dialog box you can capture. Now in Mac, you can press Command-Shift-4 to capture a screenshot, because these are all the information you require. And that's it. And you will want to place this in the evidence folder. So in this case, this is your evidence file. Go to locate your recording. So in this case, it is here, screenshot, and you just drag it to the area, into the evidence 1. Now notice that the image is quite big, okay, and it takes up some space, okay. But one thing I find, or an advice to students, is that don't change or make the image too small. You want to leave it as it is within the margins of the evidence file. Okay, some students make the file so small, or rather the image so small, that the examiner can't really see. So this is very difficult to mark if we can't see. All right. Okay, so leave it as it is. Maybe leave 3 line spaces before the next evidence. And save this. Okay, now that it is safe, go back to the question, and this is done. 3. Save the newsletter, use the format of your software package, and give a new name. And we need to save this as evidence 2. And make sure that's evidence of the file type. So let's go back. Right now, this file is still m16project.rtf. We need to save this. So Command S to save. And of course, we want to use the ODF or ODT format. This is the dialog box, ODT, and it's the same folder. Now the question is, we have to save it as a new name. What shall we save it as? Let's go back to the task. Now I remember that before, in the question, when the question started, we are given the name of the company. So we could use this as our new file name, which is very convenient. So we can just name it Mana Construction and ODT and save. Okay, you should be able to see this in your Finder and at the top of the software. So that's great. Now we have to capture this as an evidence. Before we do that, some Macs doesn't show the extension automatically. So how can you make the extension shown? In my case, I like to work with extensions because I want to know what kind of files I'm working at. But if yours is not enabled, all you need to do is you're at Finder, go to Preferences, so Finder, Preferences, and here you see under Advanced, there is a item, Show All File Name Extensions. Make sure it is checked to show the extension. So with that enabled, just as before, Command-Shift-4 to capture the screenshot. And I'll be capturing this folder. And with you will notice that I also highlight that file so that it is easier for the examiner to see. Okay, screen capture. Okay, go to where the capture is. Done. You should have this. And we can name it evidence 2. With this, go to the evidence file and we can just drag this here. Okay, 3 spaces, that's right. What have we done? What is required of us? Okay, file type. So in this case, ODT and open document text with a new name. So we're done. And we can check this off. Four, place in the header your name and candidate number left aligned, center number right aligned. Go back. What you want to do is to insert header and footer, header, default page style. Now, unlike the evidence file where we could leave all the text left aligned because there was no requirement to have 2 different alignments, this one requires both left and right align. So what can you do? Now you could try format and play around with all the commands and see that there is columns under format. We try that. We see that, oh, you can select 2 columns and it seems right. However, we see this is applied to page style and let's see what happens. If you did that, you see that the entire body of the text is split into 2 columns and that's not what you want. So what can we do? What we can do is we could type out your name, your candidate number as is required, and the center number. You want to select this and click Format, Columns. We're back here, we select 2 columns, and notice this is applied just to the selection. This seems like what we want. Click OK. However, even when we see that there are 2 columns now, there's no way, I'm clicking here, that my cursor will go to the left side. So what can we do to paste our text or our center number on the right? All right, so we can try. Maybe this is a software glitch or this is the way the software works. What I can do, I thought of, was to click tab and tab and tab and tab, and it went over. But notice that now it has 3 vertical space. And that's not what we want because, you know, this is too much. It takes up too much of the margin. So that's not what we want. Undo. So what can we do then? We have the 2 columns. How can we make the text on the right side? So what we can do is this. This is what I found out. You could delete this and move the center number to the next line by pressing Enter. When you do that, automatically, now the space, the candidate number is has gone to the right side. So what you could do is you could just right align it. And this seems correct. And you save this. And it's done. So you can now check this. Next, place in the footer the automated file name right align. So let's go back. What you need to do is insert, header and footer, footer, default page style. So there's only one style. You can right align, since this is right align. And what you want to do is, you don't need to type. All you need to do is to insert the field. And you don't see the file name here, so you select more field. You select file name, and then under here, you should click path/file name. Insert, and there you go. You have the full path with the file name in the path. And that's it. It's already right aligned, and you should save this. And that's done. And you can check this off. So make sure all the alignments match the page margins and are displayed on each page. So you can check. This is on this page. Okay, and it seems correct. And you are done. And you can check this off. 5. Create or edit the following styles. You apply these styles to the text in the document. Refer to the style sheet for details of these styles. MC title, subtitle, subheading, body. What we need to do is to place in the evidence document screenshots how we created or edited the MC body style defined above, and we only need to show evidence of the MC body style. Now we've seen this before, the styles. This was given to us at the start of the question, and this is it. We can now apply the styles into the question. So, number 6, insert a blank line at the start of the document and enter the title, Mana Construction News. Okay, we follow instructions. Blank line and insert Mana Construction News. Okay, that's inserted. Number 7, apply the MC title style to this text. Okay, now for LibreOffice, there is no automatic importing of styles from the RTF file. So we cannot use the style that was already given, unlike Microsoft Word. So what can we do? Don't worry, there's always a way. So you can see here, you can click the styles button and it will show all the styles available. And as you can see, none of the MC styles are given or shown. So what can we do? Not to worry, we can always create one, just as the question says. So what we need to do is, we need to select the text, and then we can click here, default paragraph, because we want it to be a paragraph style. Okay, you can then either click the plus sign on the right from the styles pane, new style from selection, or you can click styles and new style from selection. So we can click that and we say MC title. Okay, and click OK. Now, one thing that I noticed is that for LibreOffice, it will not create the style under default paragraph for some reason. It will always place it under no spacing. But not to worry, because once we have defined the style, and we can just apply it, whether it's in default paragraph or no spacing, it doesn't really matter. So what can we do here? With the style selected, we go back to styles and then edit style. Okay, and let's follow the instruction for MC title. So MC title, sans serif, we'll give that Arial. 36, right align, none, single, and then 00 space before and after. So let's have a look. First, the font, and the best sans serif is Arial, so I like to choose Arial, and then we pick 36 as the font size. Then we have right align, so we go to alignment, it's right align, and then enhancement, font effects, none, so no underline, no strike through, and the rest. And line spacing, single, and this is found here, line spacing, single, and spacing before and below the paragraph is none. So before text and after text is none. So we can just click apply. You can see here it is now right aligned with the correct size font. Okay, so that's done. And we can check two things off. Okay, we can now check. Oops. This draw, and we can check this, and we can check this. 8. Below the title, add the subtitle, report by, and your name. So let's go back. Title, enter, report by, name. Okay, select. That's done. Apply the MC subtitle style to this text. Again, we are not given that style, so we have to create it. So you can create on the right side as well. So new style from selection. Call it MC subtitle. Okay. Now notice that LibreOffice would put it as a child under MC title because you can see here it is the same as what you have defined for MC title. We can leave it this way, it's not a problem, or we can move it to make MC subtitle a sibling of MC title. So what we can do is just to shift it, click, and shift above, no spacing. And if you release, and you'll be under here, and you can see they are now siblings. However, you can see here that the style has changed because this will take text body, and then it will apply that instead of what it was related to for MC title. So it's okay because we can always define the style. So styles, edit the style. Okay, so subtitle sans serif 18, right align. So the difference is the font size and underline. The rest are the same. Okay, so single, okay, no spacing. Alignment is right. Yes, it's still right. Okay, the font still Arial. Font size 18, half of that. And the font effects is underline. Okay, single line, underline. And this is a preview. So it looks right, and you can apply. There you go. There you have it. So again, we have done this, so we can check it off. So 8 is done, 9 is done. 10. After the subtitle text, format the rest of the document into 2 equally spaced columns with a 2 cm gap. We go back, we select the start of the body text and select all to the end. So what you need to do for 2 columns is you choose Format, Columns, and we've done this before, and we've done this with the heading. So you should be familiar with this. So it is still applied to the selection, but what we need to change is the spacing. Set it at 2 cm and click OK. Now, how do we know this is correct? Now, we know that the margin is 2 cm, and it seems like this space here between the 2 columns, it looks like 2 cm, so it seems right. 11. Apply the MC body style to this text. Now, the text is already selected. We remember that we don't have MC body style because LibreOffice did not inherit it from the RTF file. So just as the previous 2, we have to create it. So with the files, or rather the text selected, we select style and then new style from selection, type MC body. Okay. And again, go back to style, edit style. So we go back to see what MC body requires. Serif, 12 points, fully justified, none, single, and then 12 points after. So we do this one by one. Okay, so first is font, serif. I like Times New Roman. This is the most common. And regular, and 12 points. So that's done. And fully justified and single line spacing. Okay, enhancement. So alignment, fully justified. Now you notice that below justified there is a last line, and it shows that you could select it as start, meaning the rest of the text will not spread to the end of the column, or center. You can see that all the text is moved to the center, or you could click justify, where all the text is spaced out to reach the corner of the column. Now, because the examination requires fully justified, all right, so we shall select justified. Okay, enhancement none, line spacing single. So line spacing single, and then the last one will be space after 12 points. You might have noticed that the measurement unit for spacing is in cm. You might have remembered that for margin, we changed it from inch to cm. So if the requirement is in points, we could do the same. So what you can do is you go to Preferences, Office Writer, General, and you can change to points, like here, from cm to points. Click OK, and you can click Cancel to get out. Okay, so select Style, Edit Style. So now when you go in, you will see that it is now in points. Now remember that this organizer is the evidence that we should provide to the examination question, and we only need to provide MC body. So here you might perhaps be worried that the indent shows point as well instead of cm, but since it is 0, there's no requirement for any change to indent. Whether it's 0 cm or 0 point, it should be the same. So the examiner should not take away any marks from your paper. Okay, now because we cancel, we have to do all the requirements to set all the styles again. So we can start with indents. It is 12 points after single line spacing, alignment justified, font Times New Roman regular 12, and no changes. Okay, so that should be it. Now before we go, we need to take a screenshot. So Command-Shift-4 for Mac, and do this, and you are done. Click OK to apply the style. So with this, we have applied the style for MC body. With that, we can check off both 10 and 11. Before we go on to question 12, we need to place the screenshot that we just captured for MC body into the evidence file as evidence 3. So we can go back to where we captured. This is the screenshot, and we need to bring up the evidence file. So under evidence 3, so we would like to place it downwards and just drag and place it here. Okay, the width of, you can make this. So there you go, it shows everything that we need. 3 spaces, and we are fine. Save this, and we are done. And we can check this off. We can finish 5, and we have place evidence 3. 12. In the left column, before the first paragraph, enter the subheading, the company. You can go to the first paragraph, enter and type the company, and select that. And we're done. 13. Identify all the subheadings in the document and apply the MC subheading style to each one. Now, as before, LibreOffice did not inherit the style from the RTF file, so we have to create it. So as before, go to Styles, New from Selection, type MC subheading, enter. And you will notice that LibreOffice automatically places the new style under MC body. And that's because we are in a body of text that has the MC body style applied. So the software automatically thinks that it is a new style under the MC body. Therefore, it puts it as a child under itself. So what you can do is, as before, we can move it to be a sibling. And you click and drag it above, no spacing, and you will see that it is now a sibling of MC body. Now notice also that the style has changed, but that's okay because we're going to edit it anyway. To set the style, let's go back to Style, Edit Style, and we can now apply MC subheading. So let's take a look. MC subheading, serif 14, left align, single 14. So we go to font, serif, we'll select our favorite Times New Roman, select point 14, and left align, single 14. So left align, yes, single spacing, and points below 14 points. And click OK. So it says that, the instruction says that we have to apply this style to all the subheadings in the document. So let's find all of them. So here we apply them, news update, and we can just double click and it's done. The project, MC subheading, apply. Early development, apply. Environmental issues, apply. Benefits of the project, apply. Hydroelectricity, apply. Company news, apply. And I think that's all there is. Okay, and we are done. With that, we've done 12 and 13. 14. Import the image M16 power. So this whole question is about image manipulation. You can read here, place this image somewhere in the text. You will need to do rotation, cropping, resizing, and text wrapping. And the question is nice enough to give us an indication of what it will look like. Okay, so that's good. So first locate the file, go to Finder, and the file is here. What you should do is you should preview the image to see what it looks like. And you can see here the image is upside down, so you know that you need to do some rotation and editing. Okay, you can close that. So we follow the instructions step by step. So first, place the image. Okay, go to LibreOffice, and this should be placed below the subheading, the project, and at the top of the paragraph to the left margin. So what you need to do is to place the cursor, your cursor, where it should be, and then you insert the image. Okay, image, locate it, and then it will be placed automatically by the software. Now don't worry about the alignment or the placing yet, because later you will see that you will need to text wrap it, so that means to move it. So that's not a problem. Let's continue. Crop the image to remove 50% from the right. So you don't want 50% half of the right side. So what can you do? So you can right click and you can see the crop tool. So you select crop. Now the thing is with LibreOffice, this crop doesn't tell you a percentage, or it doesn't show you like the number of pixels or cm. So you can only guess it's 50%. Okay, this is rather an imprecise way to do this. So we want to find a more precise way. So what we can do is you can right click and click properties. Now you notice that one of the tool here is the crop tool, and you can see that it shows the original image because it's upside down, and it shows in the measurement in points. Well, that's because we set our measurement to be in points. So again, all we need to do is to change the measurement back to cm. Click OK. Now it's still in points because you have to get out. Right click again, go to properties, and there you go, you see it in cm. Now this shows the original size. This is what is shown in the column. Okay, so but we need to reduce the size according to the original size. So what we can do is, if we don't want half of it, so we can take out our calculator and do 115.15 divided by 2. That's 57.575. So if we want to remove the right side, that means we want to keep the left side. So we can do 57.575. That's what we want to keep. Okay, and we can click OK. So you can see the right side is gone and this is more precise. Now don't worry about the positioning yet. It's not very important. We're going to move that later. And we're done with the cropping. Next, resize the image to 5 cm and maintain the aspect ratio. So again, we right click, click Properties, and this time we need to click on Type. Now, when you resize your image, it is very important to keep the aspect ratio. So you have to click this, check this. So what we need to do is to make the height 5 cm and click anywhere, and we're done. And we click and to see what it's like. Okay, but this seems that it's placed in like somewhat the wrong position. You might have to move here. Okay, but it's kind of weird. So is there a more precise way? Well, there is. So again, we click Properties. Notice that the position, it shows that horizontal is to place the image in the center, but we can change that to the left. And we are in the paragraph area, so that's good. And the top, not to the margin, but also to the text area. And we'll see what it looks like now. So automatically, the software will shift to exactly where you need to be. Now notice that while the position is correct, it is now below or jutting out into the margin space, and there's no space for the text there's no distance from the text to the image. So what can we do? Again, we can make it nicer, but first, because this is jutting out, we need to move this whole section to the next column so that it looks nicer. And we know that from experience that the question will require us not to have any orphans. So what we need to do is to give some line spacing and move the project up. Okay, so now this looks right. So what we need to do is just to add some space on the right side of the image. So again, right click, Properties, and we can click Wrap. So we want to add some spacing to the right. Now we can try that with say 2.2 cm and see how that looks like. And there you go. It now has some space to the right side of the picture. Now notice that this is not what is required. The question doesn't ask us to give some spacing, but it looks nicer and I like it that way. So with that, we are done. And we can check this off. 15. Format the table so that it fits within the column width. No text is wrapped within a cell. Only top row has a light shading. No borders or grid lines are visible when printed. So that's great. So we'll be focusing our attention on the table here. So the first thing you want to do is to go into table properties. Okay, so you can see here the width of the table is quite long, 15 cm. And then the columns are split equally. So what can you do? Now, how can you be smart about it? Okay. Now remember here that we know that our margin was 2 cm. The gap between the two columns is also 2 cm. And the margin here is also 2 cm. Now we also know that an A4 size paper has a width of 21 cm. Okay. So what should be the width of one column? And that's easy. And we can just use a calculator to calculate. So we have a 21 cm width paper minus 6 cm for the margins and the gap. So we have 15 cm left. So since we have two columns, we should just divide that by 2. So that makes it 7.5. Okay, so we now know the width of the column. Go back to table properties, and we just set it to be 7.5. Okay, and click OK. And there you go. It's automatically done. You might have noticed that the table is now jutting out to the left. outside of the column width. And according to the question, the table must fit within the column width. So what can we do? We can go to table properties, and you'll notice that the spacing left is minus 0.38 cm. So we want to set that to 0 so that nothing is jutting out. So we can do that, and we can check. Yes, so now you can see the table fits within the column width. You can see that with the text, and the table is aligned on both sides. Okay, so that's done. Next, no text is wrapped within a cell. Now that's easy. All you need to do is to move the columns and such that the words are not overflowing to the second line. Okay, so, and that's done. The top row has a light gray shading. So we select the top row. Again, go to table properties, and we can go to background because that's the background color. Now notice that row is selected. You can select cell, row, or table, but since we have selected and it's a row, we'll click row and click color. Now, I've got a lot of questions from students who ask me what's 10, 20%, and the software doesn't tell us whether it's 10% gray or 50% gray. It doesn't. It just shows the name white, light gray, and black, and dark gray, and so on and so forth. So what can we do? So we can be smart about it, right? So if this is white and this is black, everything in between is gray, as these words tell us. So we can just take a gauge, an estimation of what 20% is. So we can do by counting the number of gray cells. So in this case, our gray colors: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there are exactly 10 gray color. So if that's the case, 10 to 20%, we should just select the first gray or the second gray. So I choose the second gray, and let's see, and that's done. So this is a light gray color. So that's also done. No borders or grid lines are visible when printed. So what we can do is we can just go to table properties again. Okay, and we can go to borders. Now you can see here that the style is solid line and it's black. So what we can do is either remove it, none, or we can set it to be white. So we can set it to be none and check it, and that's it. It is still a table, but it doesn't have any grid lines. So of course, if it doesn't have any grid lines, when you print it, it won't be visible. And with that, we have completed 15. And we can check it off. Question 16. This is the last question for document production. And there are no questions below. And you can see the total number of marks at the bottom. So first, we have to do spell check and proofread the document. So coming here. First, we want to do a quick scan for any indication of wrong spelling, as some software will automatically show us any spelling mistake. So let's see if there's any. We don't seem to catch any words that are indicated as wrong spelling. So what can we do? There are two ways you can do this. One is to go to Tools, Spelling, where you can use the spelling software, to check for the wrong spelling. Now you can see here, communications is spelled wrongly. You can correct it by just clicking correct, and it will move on to the next one. So it will correct each word one by one. However, there's another way. I prefer, in fact, the second way, which is the automatic spell checking. Okay, if you click that, now we see automatically the words are, or rather the words with wrong spelling are underlined. Okay, so what we need to do is to give a quick scan again to see how many words we need to edit. Okay, it seems like there's only 2. Because with the first method, you will need to do it one by one, so you have no idea of how many words you need to change. With the second feature, you can just see at a glance every word that is spelled wrongly. So we just proceed to change the spelling, to edit, and we are done. So we can save this document. Next, we check for page breaks, document, paragraphs complete, and spacing. Let's have a look. First, we see if there is a need for any page breaks. It doesn't seem so, because there are 2 full pages with text correctly formatted. So it doesn't seem that we need any page breaks. The document and paragraphs are complete, and it seems so as well. So you can see the heading followed by a body of text followed by the next segment, and they look right. And the MC body style is applied correctly. And spacing is consistent too, because this is as is required. This is fully justified. Next, we look at widows, orphans, and blank pages. A common question that students ask is, what is a widow and what is an orphan? Let's have a look. So when we come back to our document, we see here clearly that the subheading, the project, is all by itself. Now this is an example of an orphan. An orphan is where the start of a paragraph or a body of text shows up at the bottom of the page, and the rest of the body at the top of the page or at the next page. Okay? What is a widow? A widow is the opposite, where the last line of a paragraph or body of text shows up at the top of the next page. So for example, like this. Okay? Where you can see this is the last line of the paragraph, and it shows up at the top of the next page. So this is clearly not what we want, and it doesn't look really nice. So we can just move it back and go back to our orphan. So here, this is pretty simple. All you need to do is to press 1 enter and to move the heading, the subheading, to the next or to the top of the next column or the next page. And this, you want to check this again, the whole document, to see if there are any more orphans and widows. So with that, we have checked that we do not have any orphans and widows, and we can save that. Next will be no blank pages. Now we know that our document is very nicely formatted and there are no blank pages. So that's good, and we are done. Finally, we need to save and print our document as printout 1. Ensure that our name, center number, and candidate number appear on all pages. Let's have a look. So here we have our name, candidate number, and center number on the heading. And because it's on the heading, it should show on every page like this. So, okay, we have already ensured that, so that's good. Now, however, before you want to send your document to be printed, some printers, because of its settings, may create orphans or widows, and we don't want that. Of course, we can edit the file after we've collected the printouts, but I think it's rather a waste of time. So how can we avoid it? Now, the best way is to print it or export it as a PDF. Now, why do we do so? Because PDF is basically an image, and it should print whatever is on that page. So if you can have a preview of your work before you send it for printing, then you can be more confident that you are doing the right thing, and then you don't have to do it again. So here we can check that our name, candidate number, and center number is at the top. There are no widows, no orphans, and once again this is at the top, and no widows and orphan. So with this, we are confident that now we can send our work to be printed, and we are done. So with that, we have completed 16, and we have printed our printout 1. And that's it. We can now move on to the next question. Welcome back. Let's continue to task 3, database report. Now, as with any question, we would like to have a look through the whole question. we want to scan for keywords so that we know what to expect for the question. Let's begin. So for this question, we know we're going to prepare some reports. We're going to make sure that the currency values have no decimal places. We want to keep this at the back of our mind. We need to import the file. We need to set the data types for the data imported. We got to set some fields as the primary key, take screenshot as evidence, create one-to-many relationship. We want to create a data entry form, add a new record, check for errors, and produce a report that has a new field, calculated field at runtime. Show contents as currency, have some filtering done, and show these fields, one page wide, landscape, some sorting, some calculation, display as currency, has a label, heading, and the usual 3 items, and print your report. And that's it. You can see this is the total. This means this is the end of the question. Now, however, sometimes database questions also might require you to produce labels. In this case, we have to do so. So as you can see, we are to produce labels in 2 columns, include these fields, and include this at the top of each label, and the usual 3 items. And the question is nice enough to give you a preview of what it may look like, and do your printout. And the total is nice, so there are no more questions. You can quickly scan through. We know the next one is mail merge. So we have 2 tasks for database. So now that we know what to expect, we may begin the question. 17. Use a suitable database package. Import the file m16employees.csv. So let's go to Finder. Now here you find the file, and you want to open it with LibreOffice. If you double click, it will open with the default app, which in my case is Numbers. So let's click LibreOffice. Now here the software automatically detects it is a CSV file, so it suggests or asks you for what is the separator options or delimiter. Here this is a preview. You can see all the columns formatted nicely, and this seems right. Okay, if so, we can click OK. So here you see that all these columns and rows seems to be correct. And okay, let's check the number of rows. So there are 221 rows, including the column names in the first row. Okay, this seems right to us, and we'll leave it as that. Let's go back to the question. So here, this is where you define your data type as you import this information into the database. Now notice that we do not have a database yet. So what do we need to do? First, we have to create a new database. So File, New, Database. Okay, here you can click Next or Finish. Just accept all the default option. Okay, give the database a name. Let's call it March 16, and we save it in the work folder. Okay, and with this you have a database M16. Now what the software did was not just to create a file, but to create a file with a connection to the database. For those of you in computer science, you will know that there needs to be a connection to the database for the data to be saved, updated, and changed. Okay, so here we will want to create a table in the database. So what you want to do is this. You will want to select all the information in the spreadsheet and just click copy and go back to the database. Okay, and what you want to do is to right click and paste all this information in the clipboard and save it as the table information. So here we know that this is an employee database or employee table. So what we want to do is to name it employee or employees. For the options, you want to select definition and data. And because we know that the first row is the name of the columns or of the fields, so we want to check this. Now for this, create new field as primary key. Do not check that because in the question, we know that we have a primary key to set. Okay, so leave it unchecked. So you can click next. Why do we click next? Because we want to define the data type for the fields. So select all the fields, click next, and let's see what are the data types required. So you can see here, everything is text except salary and contractor. And the default type is text because CSV is just text with a separator. Okay, so what you need to do is to go to salary and select number and numeric, and then contractor to be Boolean. So yes, no, Boolean. And that's it. You can click create. So here, there will be a prompt that asks you to set a primary key. Again, do not select this. So click no. And there you go. You now have a table. So if you double click, you'll be able to see the information. Just like the spreadsheet here. Okay. So go to the database. And you can see here, and this is the information. Now we can check the number of rows. So this is the end, and the software says that there are 220 rows. Okay, and this is correct because we know from our spreadsheet there are 221 rows with the first row as the column names or the field names. So in this case, it appears here, and they seem to be right. So we can click here to close. Now notice that every time you do a change, you will see that for Mac at least, you will see a black dot in the red part. This means that what you have done is not saved. So what you want to do is to click Command S to save it. So here the table is now saved in the database. So we can go to Edit to edit the fields and information about the fields. So you can check that the field types are correct, numeric and Boolean. Okay, the rest are text. Here are some more information. So here, for example, you can set things as currency. So for example, here, you can set as currency, format type, click, as currency, and so on and so forth. Okay, so you may want to do that. Okay, we'll click this. Leading zeros, we don't really need that. And then if it's negative, it shows as red. Remember, the question specifically requires us not to have a decimal place. Where is this? Here, no decimal places. So please remember to select the correct one. And 0 decimal places at the end, and you can just apply. Okay, now you will not see it here. You will see it when you view the database. So one thing we need to do is to set the primary key, and we know that we need to set the employee ID as the primary key. So what you need to do is to right click and set it as primary key. Here you will see this has a key symbol or icon. It is the primary key. So again, you see this save icon. It has a red dot, means it is not safe. We want to save that, Command S, and we are done. So we can close this. And once you're out, you will see also that in the database there is a black dot in the red icon. It means that the changes we have done are not saved. So we want to save that as well. So if you want to view the changes, you can click this, and you will see here that the salary is now shown with no decimal places. Okay, so this seems right. And we are done. So we can check this off. 17, field names, field types, and primary key. 18. Import the file m16offices.csv as a new table with all fields set as text data types, meaning you don't have to change any of the data types. Set Office ID as primary key. So this should be the same as what we have done in 17. So let's have a look. So you can see here, we look for offices. The file is right here. So this would be most likely the table name. So we open with LibreOffice. Okay, so you will see that again the software detects that it is a CSV file with its separators and delimiter. We check that the preview is somewhat correct. All the fields are correct. There's no errors. Seems correct, and it's a short table, and we can just accept. With this, Calc will open as well, and you can see that this is the range, and the first row again is the field names. So there are 11 rows, meaning there are 10 rows of data. We copy that and then go back to the database, and then here under tables we want to insert a new table. So again, we right click and paste. Okay, so it will ask you whether you want to append what you have on your clipboard to the previous table, but no, that's not what we want. We want to create a new table. So in this case, it's office or offices. Okay, so again, we want to click next. Okay, select all the fields, next. Now we know that all the data type is text, so we don't really have to change, and we can just click create. Primary key should not be created. Click no. So here you could see that there's a new table, so we can open that with a double click, and that should have 10 records. Okay, it seems right, and then we can close this, and we want to save this, and we can edit using this icon. So everything is in text, everything seems to be right, and what we have to do is to set the Office ID as primary key. Okay, and we save that, close that, and again we want to save this, and we're done. Evidence 4. Take screenshot evidence showing the field names and data types used in the two tables and place them in the evidence document. Let's go back to the database. Okay, so what you want to do is to click on the tables. So first employee and edit. Here, this is where you should take a screenshot, including the database and the table name on top with the fields selected. So that's a screenshot. Close this, click Office, edit, and take a screenshot as well with the database name and the table name. Screenshot, and we are done. So we want to place this in the evidence folder. So here, so go to the screenshots. Okay, so we want to name them properly for employees and office. So let's check. Okay, we have employee and the fields, that's correct, and office and the fields text type, that's correct. So let's go back to here and then this, and all we need to do is to drag it here. So what we can see is that the image is too big and there's not enough space below, so it has shifted to the next page. What I like to do is I often like to give it more space so that it's cleaner for the examiner to mark. Okay, and there is not enough space in between, so we can shift evidence 5 down. Okay, so let's shift it to the next page just in case there's no space. So we can shift office here, and where did it go? And it has shifted downwards. Well, that's because most likely it is still too big. So what we can do is we can resize it. So something like this. As you can see, now it's resized. And make it a little bit smaller. And they are resized. So you can see here there's a slight issue because when it's resized, the images overlap. So we can undo, and then we could just leave it as it is. We can shift this to the left, and we are happy. Just make sure that the evidence 5 is on the next page, and there's enough space. Okay, so evidence 4 on one page alone. And that's that. We need to save this, and we are done. So we have saved that in the evidence folder, and we can check this off. Question 19. Create a one-to-many relationship as a link between the Office ID field in the officers table and the Office ID field in the employees table. Here in the database, we have already set up our two tables. Now we need to link them up with a relationship. So you go to Tools, Relationship. The software will prompt you to add which table. So you want to add Employee and you want to add Office. Close that. Give it some space, and you want to see all the fields available in the table so that you can link them up easily later. So what we want to do now is to link the Office ID here in the Office table and Office ID here in the Employee table. Now this is the primary key of this table. When you set it as a relationship, this Office ID becomes the foreign key in the Employee table. Now all you need to do is really just to drag it across. So you can click here and then set it here. You see a black dot, black square, and you release and you will set up the relationship. Now this relationship that you set up is a one-to-many relationship. As you can see here, one and n. And have we done our job? Yes, we have. So we can check this off. Evidence 5. Take screenshot evidence showing the relationship between the two tables. Place a copy of this screenshot into your evidence document. Now this is simple. All we need to do is to take the screenshot, Command Shift 4, and usually we want to show the database name, and that's it. Here it is the PNG captured here. I will just name it as evidence 5 as is required. Then you go to your, so we can save this, close this, and we can go to your evidence document. So what you need to do is just to drag it across, and there you have it, the evidence saved. Saved, and it's done. Question 20. Create a data entry form for all fields in employees table. We're now here in the tables. All we need to do is to go to Forms. And we use Wizard to create the form because it is so much easier than to create each field by ourselves. So let's click on the Wizard. So automatically, we will see a form wizard. We want all the fields here to be in the form. We click Next. We don't need a subform. Next. And show, this is the form how it is being shown. Now we certainly don't want to have a table view. It is way easier if we can have the label on the left and the data entered on the right. So this is easier for us to enter, for any user to enter. We click Next. Do we set any data entry mode? No, we do not want to click Do Not Allow. So all this is not necessary. So we want to display all data. Next, the style is what we see here. This is the beige background, and we have a 3D look so that it is easier for the user to see, and we'll accept that and set the name of this form to be employee, and we can set to finish. Now you might find that if this is too small, we can always increase the size to, in this case, 100, so it is easy for the user to enter as well. And all there is to it. Now one thing you want to check before we finish this question off is to click the last record. Now we know from our database, we'll click cancel here. We know from our tables the number of employees. If you click and scroll all the way down, or you can click last, we have 220 fields. Is this correct? Yes. So the form, when you click the last record, you should show 220. This is how we know that we are on the right path. Save this, and we should be done. Question 21. Add the following record to the employees table using your form. So here we can see all the fields that are necessary. And it also gives an indication this is the next item or the next record in the database, 221. So what we need to do is go back to our form, and here you can see add a new record. So you click that, and you are now able to enter the information. So first, AHM0221 employee ID. So it's capitalized, AHM0221. Check that, it's correct. So you want to check items or the fields that the data that you enter in each field one at a time, rather than you finish everything to check. So this is easier to check. So family name Kapoor, and first name Sashi. Next, we have job description, structural engineer. Structural engineer. So check the spelling, structural engineer, seems right. And the salary is 4416280. Wow, that's a lot of money, 4416280. And the office ID is AHM. Is this person a contractor? No, so you don't check the box. So what you need to do is to save this entry, save record. Okay, and it's saved. So now you can see that we have 221 records. Now we're done. We are done, and we have checked our data for errors. So we have already checked, as we enter rather than at the end of it. So we have checked this, and we have checked this. Evidence 6. Take screenshot evidence of the completed form for this record. Place a copy of this screenshot into your evidence document. So this is easy. We take screenshot as usual, Command-Shift-4, and take also the name of the form, employee, and then this item, 0221. So we got that. And we can name it evidence 6, and we can go to our evidence document and place the screenshot here. So all we need to do is just to drag it over, and we are done. Save, and we are done. Question 22. Now this is a very long question because we have lots of things to do. A bonus is paid to employees but not contractors. It is an extra month's pay. So this is quite a lot. What we need to do is to produce a report which contains a new field, bonus. It is calculated by the salary divided by 12. It is calculated at runtime. Display the contents of this field as currency. And these are some constraints. Office is Ahmedabad, and the contractor is no. And in the report, we only show these fields. And then the rest is like the formatting, one page wide, and landscape, and sorting, ascending order of family name, and calculates the total cost of the bonuses paid at the bottom of the field. And this value as currency, label it as bonuses paid, and have the heading and the usual name, center number, and candidate number. So let's get right to it. Now, before we produce this report, we need to understand what a report is and what it is for. A report is generally condensed information that is selected so that people reading it would immediately or understand it easily. And this is often distributed in a company to colleagues, to employees. So to do that, what we need to do is to only show those selected information. And in this case, the question has already shown us what to do. So for us to do that, before we do the reports, we should really do something to collect the information, only the information that we need. And to do that, we use queries. Now to start this query, the easiest way is to use the wizard. So we double click on the wizard, and here the query wizard shows us all the information that we want to be selected into the query. However, we do not want to select all information. As we know, a report is selective information, is condensed information. Now the question has already shown us what we need to display in the report, so we shall use that. So the first two items, office and telephone, seems to come from the office table. So in this case, all we need to is to select the office and the telephone information. If you continue, the rest are all from the employee table, so we can go back to it and we can enter them. So what we need is ID, family name, first name, job description. ID, family name, first name, job description. Now the next item on this list is contractor. I think we should follow what is required from the question rather than just select the next item in the wizard. So in this case, we should select contractor rather than salary. And after which, the next item is salary. And we select that. Now the next item is bonus, but we know that there's no such field called bonus. So it is a new field, we have to create that. So for now, that's okay. So we click next. We also know from the question that we need to sort one field, and in this case, it is family name in ascending order. So instead of creating a report where at the runtime we sort the report, why not we sort it right now at the query level? At the query, if it is all sorted, when we output it to the report, it will be so much easier. So in this case, we will choose family name and ascending, and this is the only field, so we click next. Now conditions. Conditions is equality. So we know from this question that we require that the person is from the office Ahmedabad and the contractor is no. So how do we do that? So we first, in the search conditions number 3 here, we just select the office and equals to the value Ahmedabad. Now, as we shall see later, this will fail. This will fail. So we'll try to fix it afterwards and we'll learn what is the best way to do it. So the fields next is contractor. Now because we know it is Boolean, we should use the value false. And notice that I type it in capital letters. So now it's okay. So click next. And this one, click next. And aliases, again, we shall leave it as it is. And next, and overview. Here we should just change the name to report because the query is run for the report. And we finish. Here we see that the report is generated, but you can clearly see that it is an empty report. That means something must have gone wrong. The fields are there, but there's no information. That means one of the conditions or more than one of the conditions is wrong, which is why I say earlier that it will fail. So how can we fix this? Now you have already generated this report. One way is, of course, we can do it again, or we can go to edit. Right? When you edit, you will see this. These are the query and all the fields that is put into your query, and also the two tables. However, what we can see is that the relationship between the two tables is not set, right? As we have done before in the two tables. So because this is query, it is not in the table, so we have to set it again. So we should just pull the office ID to the office ID, and it's done. So we save that. Okay, so with that saved, I'll give it more space. And we see that all this ticks shows that they are selected. That means these are visible. All right, so we can see here 0. The criterion for contractor is false. False, 0 stands for false. And here the criterion is Ahmedabad. What we should have done in this case is not to set it as camel case, meaning with just a capital A. Because one thing we can check out is if we go here, we go to our tables and we check for employees, or not employees, office. The spelling name is in capitals. It's in capitals. So therefore, it was wrong. The query did not know that, does not recognize the difference in cases. So if we type it correctly, then it should be correct. Now notice that we should put in the apostrophe, the quotes. So we save this And what we can do is to run the report by here or pressing F5. You click, and there you go. There are 18 records being shown, and you can see here the office is Ahmedabad, and the rest seems to be correct. And the contractor is no, because it's not checked. There you go. That's the way to fix it. Of course, another way is that you can just run it, and in your wizard you can just type Ahmedabad in capital letters. And I think we have solved that problem. Now let's get back to our query report to add the field that is bonus, that's required in the question. Okay, we are supposed to create a new field. And it is the value is the annual salary divided by 12. So how can we create a new field? So here we can see that there are more columns, so we can just click on them and then select the item. So in this case, this is salary from the employee table. We click this, and from here, all we need to do is to just put in the math, divide by 12, to show that it is salary divided by 12. Then for the alias, which is its name, we call it bonus. This comes from the employee table, and it's done. That's all there is to it, and there's no further conditions from here. Okay, so what we can do, save, and we can generate a report. Here it should still be 18 records, and it is correct, and you can see that the bonus is generated on the right. Now you can always check with a calculator whether the number is correct. 3814060 divided by 12. Now because we have set the data to not show decimals, so all this, the bonus will not show decimals as well. But you know that the numbers, or it is what it is round up to, is correct. So we can save this, and we are happy. And with the query done, we can now move on to making our report. So we should save this, and we should also save whatever is the main database, and we should go to reports. Again, we use the wizard to create a report. Here we are now at the report wizard. The software will prompt you to choose either your query or your tables. Now, as I say, here you don't have to choose from the table anymore. You can just choose all that is in your query report. If you choose table, for example, we can have a look whether it works. You can choose the office as is required, telephone required, and then but when you choose employees, it got lost. So this is one of the reasons that we cannot choose from multiple tables, and we should put all the information that we want in a query. So in this case, we want all our information here, and we click next. Now in this case, labeling, we just leave it as it is. Next. Do you want to group them at different levels? No, we don't need to do that. Sorting, it is already sorted, so you don't even have to think about this. Next, the layout, it will be tabular by default, and it is landscape. And the report, we can just say it is a report. And then we should create the report now and finish. Okay, so you can see here, this is the output of the report, and the red triangle shows that there is the text overflows inside this next cell. So what we can do is we need to reduce the size or make the arrangement such that they are visible. So we can always close this and get back to our report. Okay, we can cancel, and there's no need for this because we already have report. Okay, so at the report level, we can click on the report and we can edit the report. So here, the first thing you should do, or rather what I do and what I tell students, is often to reduce the size of the text. By reducing the size of the text, then we'll have more space between the cells, between the columns, so they can be visible. Now, one quick way to do this, to select the cells, is to click or to click shift and click the cells. Here you can see that it becomes blue, red to blue, and you can even do this. Okay, so let's do this. However, this may not work, as we shall see. So for the header, I would like to make it into point 10. Okay, so here you can see that although everything is selected, only bonus and office, because these are the two cells we click on. So what we need to do is really to click on everything and clicking shift. Okay, family first, job description, contractor, and salary. And we change that to 10 points. Okay, and see, and it's done. For the data, we should really make it smaller than the heading. Okay, and I'll make it 9. Okay, and we should save this. Now, to have a look whether it fits, we can always generate the report by executing a report here, this check mark here. Okay, and it seems like this is much better. Now, only the job description has the red arrow or the red triangle because the words are very long. So we need to give more space for the job description. To give more space, and because we want everything to fit in the landscape mode on one page, we can shift the space between those with larger spacing so that we can have more space for job description. Now let's reduce the space between some of these columns so that we have more space for job description. So we know that salary, there's lots of space, contractor, perhaps ID, maybe family name, first name, telephone, and the office. So let's close this. So we are back here, and we can reduce the width by clicking on the cell and then reducing a little bit. Okay, and then doing the same for the data below. So here you can see that they are of the same alignment, so that you can shift the rest to the left. So in this case, you want to shift all the way to first name to the left. Oh. So we have to click all of them as we have learned. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we shift all of them to the left. Again, we do not need so much space for telephone, so we can shift 1, 2 blocks to the left, 1, 2 to the left. So again, we will select all this information and shift it to the left. Maybe we can shift a little bit of employee ID, just 1 block, and again 1 block, same thing, select everything, shift to the left. So this is a bit tedious, but that's the best way, or rather the only way to do it. So shift a little bit to the left, select this, shift both to the left, and first name we don't really need that much, so shift 2 blocks to the left and 2 blocks to the left. So this means now that the job description and contractor has lots of space. So we want to move this here, and then we want to drag the size of the job descriptor more to the right. So we put it just before the no entry sign is shown. So okay, the warning sign is shown. Oh, it's still not done. So we just shift here. Okay, it didn't move. Maybe we'll just leave it like that. But no, so you can see that the job description is longer. So we leave it as that for the time being. We know that we don't need up so much space for bonus, so we will reduce 2 as well. Reduce 2 as well. Okay, and then we can also reduce 1 for the salary, maybe 2 for the salary as well. 2 blocks, and then select both and shift to the right. And contractor, we don't need so much space. 3 blocks left, 3 blocks left, select both, and then shift to the right. Here we will continue to drag to the right, and here to the right. Okay, and it seems like this is done. We save and check that if it is okay with generate report. And there you go. So all this information, including the header, is aligned nicely, and we have sufficient space. You might say that there's now too much space. We can always drag it back, but it is not necessary. So we can close this data. Now the next thing we need to do is to display the contents of this field as currency, in this case bonus. Okay, so what we need to do is we can select on the data bonus. We can do this by clicking view and set the properties, or we can just double click on the data itself. So here you will see that the properties panel show up, and of course we can shift this, okay, our view to where we are on the field, on the data field. So this is a formatted field. Is it visible, so on and so forth? Yes. Okay, and what we can do is to change the formatting because we need it to be in currency. So we can click this. Okay, now it is just a number. You can click currency, and we can click this. Wow, in this case it's this one. Yes, actually we don't need this, and then we can apply. This is our selected customized format where it shows as red. There's no decimal places as is required in the question, and there's also no leading zeros. Okay, we can just apply. Okay, and it's done. Okay, so one thing we can always check. So save this and generate our report. This is correct. And yes, that is now the dollar sign. Okay, and so we are done. Now let's continue with the question. We have already done this. We have shown this field as currency. We've done this, and we can see whether it is one page wide. Next, okay, we are here. We are not at the report. So what we can do is just to generate the report again. So this is one page wide. All the information is on one page. And next item that it is a landscape orientation. So this is landscape orientation. So we are done. The sorting is already done. So that's okay. So next thing, we want to calculate the total cost of the bonuses paid and place it at the bottom of the report. Okay. So what we want is to place a field here below the bonus and then give it a label. So what we want to do is really to calculate or really sum up all these bonuses that are paid to all these employees and give it as a number here, show it as a number. So what we can do is we can close this, and here we can insert a field to show the sum of the bonus. So to do that, we click on text box. Now we want to place it right below the bonus, okay, and then we can double click on it to show the property view. Okay, so it is a formatted view and so on and so forth. We will come back with the formatting later. So we click on data. What we want now is really to choose the function, as we shall see later. And the data field to run that function is bonus. And the function to run that we want is actually accumulation, meaning to say all that is from this bonus will be accumulated. That means add them up, and then we can see the total. So what we can do is we should also reduce the font size because the data is 10, it's 9. We perhaps can set it as 9 as well. So we click on the 3 dots, and we can select to be 9. Okay. So you can see that it becomes smaller, and we can also set it as a currency. Okay, this is the one that we set, so we can apply to it. Okay, and that's really about it. So we can always save, and we can generate the report. And there you go. This is what is shown below. Okay, what you can do is you can always sum up this information. So to do a quick sum up, all you need to do is really, so you can look 3136 100. So on average it's about 300 something. I'm just going to put in 320,000 on average, and then we know there are 18 fields, and if you do that, it's 5.76 million, so it's about 5.8 million, so that works out to be around there, so it seems right. Now as you can see, this number is somewhat a little bit off to the left of the column, so let's see if we can fix this. So close this, we go back here, and let's try setting the boundary to a bit closer to bonus, and let's see what happens. Let's save this, and yes, it's done. So you can see that this is right aligned, and then it starts somewhere to the left, because this is a bigger number. So we've done that, and we have displayed it as currency. So now let's add a label, bonuses paid, to the left of this number. So in this case, what we need to do is add a label. Okay. Just on the left side. So we can first change the font size. The numbers are 9, so the label can be 10. And we can change this. Now, this name is a label field, but the actual name, you should change it in the label. So in this case, it's bonuses paid. Okay, and you just click somewhere else, and then it will show bonuses paid here, right here. So there's some distance. We can shift it a little bit to the right. Save this, and let's see how it looks like. And bonuses paid. Perfect. And we are done. We have completed everything up to bonuses paid. So we have the last two left. So let's take a look. We need to include a heading with this title at the top of the page, and has your name, center number, and candidate number on the report. Anyway, it doesn't say at the top or the bottom. So let's get on to it. So what we can do is, for the heading, the page header, we can include on the left side, and since it's a bit longer, then we can put the label here. So this label, we can change the name to Ahmedabad Office Bonus Report. Ahmedabad Office Bonus Report. And click anywhere else, and there you go. That's the heading. And it is of size 12. I think this is suitable for a heading. And what we can do last is to include our name, candidate number, and center number. So again, we can put it as font size 12, and then change the name. So name, center number, and candidate number. Okay. So name, we can go to the label field. So name is Cambridge, right? And then center number CP001, and candidate number 9999, and we are done. Okay, we can save this and generate the report. And there you go. This is the report, and we have done this. So we can check this out. Now the final thing that we need to do is to save and print your report as printout 2. So we again have to check that we have our name, center number, and candidate number, as we have done here. So here we have our report. What we need to do is to not save it as here for printing, but as we have said, to export it as PDF. So export as PDF, select the location you want to save this file, and you should always save it as instructor. So print out 2, and we save. Okay, now notice that this is in ODT, so we can close this and check that this is saved. Close this and save the database. Go back to your Finder and see that the printout 2 is here, and then use your default program to see whether all the information is there. So it is of 1 page length. This is of landscape orientation. You have your name, center number, candidate number, and all the information that is there. and we are done. And we can check this off. Task 4, question 23. We have to produce labels from all the data which are in this following format: 2 columns, some conditions, and what to show on the labels, have some headings, in a larger font size at the top of each label, mana project development, and your name, center number, and candidate number. And then save and print your labels. So let's get started. Here we are still with our database. Now what we like to do is, again, it is easier if we can produce a query with all the necessary data before we generate the labels. So again, what we do, we will use the wizard to create the label. So we can check out what we need. Here we will need office, and then first name, family name, and job description. So we can go to office, the office name, and then we select the table employee. We have the family name, first name, job description, and then we click next. We don't need to sort because it's not required. Now one thing we can do for this is there are some conditions required. For example, the office is Mumbai or Bangalore, and then the job description must contain the word engineer. So one thing we can do it is we can put the equality equations here, or like condition, as we shall see later, but we can skip that because we can enter it directly in the query. So we'll leave everything as it is, next, and then we'll just call it label because we are doing it for label. So finish. So this is generated, okay, but you notice that, because we haven't any condition, so all this will be shown. Okay, so here now we can input the condition by editing it. So first up, most importantly, for some reason, when for each query the relationship is not captured. So as usual, we need to link up the relationship, because if you don't, the result might skew. So always save. So we set up the office ID to the office ID. Now these are all the fields that we have selected, and the criterion is that the office is either Mumbai or Bangalore, as stated here. Now we also know that the fields are in capital letters, because if we did camel case, meaning like capital letters and then small letters, the criterion will not work because it is an equality condition. So Bangalore, okay, so all Bangalore, okay, under office. Now the only other thing left is job description. Now the job description needs to have the word engineer inside. So let's take a look at the tables. What does it entail? What does it have? So you can see here, engineer, 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 engineer. Okay, so next. Okay, structural engineer, engineer. Now although it seems like most of the word engineer is at the end of the title, probably there could be some word that has the word engineer in the middle or in front. So if this is the case, we will need something called a wildcard query. Okay. Now if you enter the text directly, it will mean an equality condition. So if you have a wildcard text search, you will need to use the command like, and we will need to put the condition inside quotes, just like before here. So a wildcard is indicated by an asterisk. An asterisk means it can be any character and any number of characters, okay, that can precede it, the word that we want. So in this case, we want the word engineer, and we also want to just, in case that the word is in front, engineer word is in front or is in the middle, something or some text or space will come after the word engineer. So we want to capture that as well. However, if you just do this and run your query, we can try, you will find that now there are 36 items, and then there's Mumbai and Bangalore, but it includes other things like quantity surveyor. So what went wrong? Now, one way you can check is this. You can go to the design view on and off, and this will give you the SQL view. The SQL view gives you the actual SQL command that's executed by the database. So you can see here, we set this, all right, so all this information, where the tables come from or where the fields come from which table. S is as the alias, okay, as the name of the field, all right, and from employee and office, this is the name of the two database, where this is the conditions, where the office ID must be equals to the employee office ID must be the office ID. So this is the foreign key and this is the primary key. They must match as we set up the condition. And then the rest of the conditions will be and, okay, because this is one condition, then followed by another condition, so both must be true at the same time, that the office, okay, has belongs to Mumbai, the employee belongs to an office in Mumbai, and this person has job description like engineer. Now this is where the problem is, okay, so this must hold as one condition, okay, or any of the people with the office that's Bangalore will be populated. Hence you can see that the Bangalore people who work in Bangalore will be shown here. All right, the engineer, the condition engineer is not captured. So what can we do? We can switch back to our table view. So what you can do is, because of this, you can select this same condition to be under the same in the Bangalore condition. So you can try that. So how will it turn out? So you can save that and you can just try running. Now here you only have 20 records and you check whether, yes, the office is Bangalore and Mumbai, it seems right, and each of them are engineers. So that seems right. So let's take a look at the SQL view. The SQL view, the front part is the same, so from here and. Now notice that the employee job description is like engineer, so it searches for all the job description with engineer somewhere in the description, and so this must hold, and then the rest in bracket must hold, and this person can come from the Mumbai office or Bangalore office. Can you see the difference? So SQL commands is beyond the scope of this course, but the logic is simple. You can just follow. Okay, so that seems right, and we can close that. Now, however, that is just the query. What we need to do is to generate something like this, like a label, the stickers, with information that you can stick somewhere. So what can we do? Remember to save. You will be going to File, New, and you can select Labels. Now when you're here, because I've been using this, okay, let's start from scratch. All right, so what we can do is, don't panic, okay, we can do things step by step. So okay, first the label should have in the heading the MANA project development. Okay, so we can do that. Okay, so enter that as text. Now, because we're going to populate different people's name to each different label, so what we need to do is to put the fields inside rather than to type text. So first you have to select the database. So our database is automatically selected, and then you have to choose the table. And here, this is what is useful because we created this query just for this label. We select that, and then inside this, these are all the fields available in this query, and then we can, as required in the question, we put in family name, first name, yes. So after that, first name, family name, with their job description on the next line. So what we can do is place your cursor where you want it. Okay. First name and populate, maybe with a comma, and family name, populate, and then write the job description of this person below. Are we done? It says that we should include our name center number somewhere at the bottom of each label. So at the bottom, we can just say our name, Cambridge Prep, our center number, CP001, and our candidate number, 9999. Okay, so that is basically what we need to do. Now, the font size bigger, we will show you later. So first, you need to choose the label, that is, in this case, A4. So Avery is the brand of labels, so you can select that. Now, before you create new documents, you need to check the format. Now, this requires some explanation. Now, this is already populated because I've already done it. Now, what can we do? First of all, you need to set how big the table, or rather the paper is. We know that A4 is 21 cm by 29.7 cm. Okay, so we need to set that. And according to the question, we need to have 2 columns and 4 rows. So we set 2 columns and 4 rows. So we go from the bottom up. All right, and okay, that's it. But what we can do is, as you can see from this picture, we can set some margin so that, you know, the sticker, we don't print right at the edge, so that it is easier to cut out when it is needed. Okay, so we give some margin, okay, from the top. So we set it as 1 cm and the left 1 cm. Now, how do we calculate the rest? Okay, so you can take a look. Here we have 2 columns, and we know that the width of the paper is 21 cm. Now, if we give 1 cm here, that means what is left from this point onwards to the edge of the paper is 20 cm. Okay, now we also know that we need to give some space here, but however, this is the entire pitch of the column. So we can set easily, we can bring up our calculator. We use 21 cm minus 1, divide by 2, because there are only 2 horizontal pitch. Okay, so we can set it as 10 cm. What about the vertical pitch? So again, we can use the same formula, 29.7 minus 1 from the top margin. We have 28.7 left. Now this, the rest from this point onwards down to the edge of the paper at the bottom, okay, should be divided into 4 sections or 4 rows. So 7.175. Okay, now what we can set is something that is smaller than this number. So in this case, 7.1. So we leave it as that. Of course, we can set it 7.15, but I'll leave it as that. Anything smaller. Okay. So what about the width? This is the actual width and height of the label. Now, I'm just gonna do something which is not, you can't access this, the internet, in your exam, but just for explanation's sake, because this is a full explainer video for this examination paper. Now, the size of a normal business card, according to Google, is 3.5 inches by 2.5 inches. Now, it doesn't really matter, in our case, the size, the actual size. Okay, what matters is really the aspect ratio. So in this case, it is a 7:4 aspect ratio. Of course, we can check what 3.5 inches is in cm. So you can open up your Google search. Of course, we can't do this. So it could be a strategy for us to remember this dimension. So 3.5 inch to 2 inches, and then 8.89 cm. So what we could do is find out. Let's go back. So 8.89. Go back, and here we know that the horizontal pitch is 10 cm. All right, so 10 cm from here, the edge of the card, to the edge of the next card, of the next name card. So you could enter any number that is within this. So 8.89 is smaller than 10 cm. So that's okay. However, 8.89 might be it's not easy to calculate. All right. So if you can remember, fine. But let's see whether it fits into the 7.1 cm for the height of the card. So how much is the height of the card? So we can use 8.89 cm divide by 7. Remember, it's a 4 by 7 by 4 aspect ratio. So it's 5.08. So what we can do is really, we could change this because it gives us very nice round numbers. We could change this, right? We could change this to the actual size of the name card. All right. So we are done with that. Okay, because 5.07 is less than 7.10 and 8.89 is less than 10. Next, let's go to option. For options, you will be printing the entire page and we will leave it as that. So new document. Here you can see that very clearly we have, this will be how it looks. Okay, it is a one page because it just shows that on a page, this will be 8 of the cards will be populated. Now, we know that there are 20 records, so it should take up 3 pages. 3 pages. Okay, let's have a look at our instructions. So it should look like that, and include in this header in a larger font size at the top of each label. So Mana Project Development, and it seems like it is bold. So what we can do is we can change the size like this. So and bold like this. So we will be doing for the 8 of them. This bold, 14, bold, 14, and bold, 14, 14, bold, 14, bold, 14, bold. Now some of you may want to make it a little bit nicer. For example, you want to make the name to be right in the middle, so you can do this. And you might also want to shift this a little bit down nearer the edge of the card. So doing this, so it's a bit repetitive. So doing this, center, align, and then shift down, center, align, and then shift down. So for the 8 of them, center, align, shift down, center, align, shift down, center, align, shift down, and the last one, center, align, and we can shift it down. Okay, so now we are happy with how the card will look like. Okay, in fact, you can add one thing, which is the edge. Now, as you will notice later, if we do this, okay, we change this, change the edge, we can make the printout visible. Okay, so in this case, now perhaps what we can do is, so maybe I'll change it back. So none first. Okay, we'll save this first, and you can have a look. So file save as label. Let's call it label 1. Let's call it label 1 for the time being. Okay. So label 1, what we can do is, if we want to print it, if you're happy with the final piece of work that you have completed all the instructions, okay, you can print it. So here, the dialog asks, your document contains address database fields. Do you want to print a form letter? This is exactly what we're headed towards, to print a form letter. So a letter with a form, and in this case labels, to be printed, to be populated from a database. So you say yes. So what you should do is you should open up to see that you are the right query. You should have 20 items with all the engineers in Mumbai and Bangalore. Okay, and For me, I always like to print a PDF. Now, this is a bit weird because if you choose save as a single document, it doesn't allow you to save anywhere you want. So in this case, you can click this and you can edit this. So this is where we want, so that's okay. And then ODT and Office, so we can click this back. And we click OK. So we give it a name, so label print, okay, ODT. And we save. Okay, so you can see 3 of 3. We can go back to our Finder and notice that our label print is here, and you can see that it is nicely printed out, okay, with bigger font and bold, the name and the title in the middle, and then your candidate number, your name, center number at the bottom of the card, and there should be 3 pages with 20 views. So 16, so 8 plus 8, 16 plus another 4, 20, and then these are not used. All right, okay. So one of the instruction is to print it out and make sure your name, center number, and candidate number is on the cards, so it's okay. So what we can do is we can file, export as PDF and see how it looks like. We are doing all this because we want to see whether the gray lines are printed so that we know that it is at the edge of the card. So we say export and then label print PDF. So save. We go back to our Finder to find label print. This is what I want to show you. Now, if you do not specify the edge of the card, then it will not be visible. Okay. In this case, when you cut up the card, all right, it will be difficult. Of course, if it is a label, then it's okay because then it will be formatted correctly. You can pull out the sticker by itself. All right, you can do so. But I just want to show you how you can add the border. Okay, and we can try that. So let's get back to here. So we call it label print. We can select this, and then we can give it a border as we have done before. It shouldn't be print, sorry. It shouldn't be this. Okay. It should be the previous one, okay, with the database fields. All right, so if you click here, then we can select the border style, and you can see that it is applied to all the cards. This is what we will save, so we can save it as another name. So we can call it 2. Maybe we can say border. Clearer. All right, once this is done, we can then say, okay, with this, then we can print it out. Okay, print, and then yes, form letter, say yes, check that the database is correct, relabel, and there are 20 records, print to file, and then the path is correct, and we call it label border print dot ODT. Okay, we can go to our Finder and have a look at this. So this is how it looks like. It has a border. It should have 20 items. Okay, 3 pages, 20 items. That is correct. Once we're happy with that, we can export as PDF. Export. And we can say label border print PDF. Save. We go back to Finder, print, and there you go. We now have our border. All right. So this is one way we can do. However, I just want to show you another time-saving technique. Something which I realized and I found out after I've done this video. So what we could do is we can open up our original file. So it's called label1. Right? So we did this manually by ourselves. Okay, is there another way so that we can synchronize or apply the changes just one time to all the rest of the cards? The answer is there is. So I'm going to show you. We're going to start another one called File, New, Labels. We go to Labels. Okay, all these are already populated. We choose Avery 4. All this didn't change, so 8.89 and 5.08, and the options. Here, this is where you will click Synchronize Contents. So it means that if you change one, you will apply the changes to the rest of the cards. So let's try. Okay, here you will see the difference is that you can synchronize all your labels. So I'm going to show you how it works. So for example, first one, you will want to make this bigger font, the title, and make it bold. And if you want to apply this to all the cards, you can just press this. You see that? So all of them are populated. So next, we want to make this center. We also want to move Cambridge down and perhaps move the line down. Well, the line can't be seen, but that's okay. And on top of that, we want to make the border. Okay, so that's what we want. And we can just synchronize. And there you go. All of them are perfectly synchronized. And that's very, very nice. Okay, so we're happy with this. We could save this, File, Save As. And we could say it is, initially we call it label. So now we call it synchronized. You can save that. Okay, so once we're happy with this, we can print it. Okay, select yes as usual. Check that the database is correct. Sorry, the query is correct. 20 items. Print to file. Same. Okay, the path is the same. So click OK. And then we say label sync because that's where it came from. And then print .odt. Alright, so we can now close this. Go back to our Finder. And this should be our new file with all the names populated. Alright, so 3 pages, 20 items, and it is here. You can export as PDF. Say export, and then choose a name, and go back to our Finder, and check it out. And there you go. This is what you should be printing. Alright, with that, we have completed our work. And we can check all of them off. Arrange in 2 columns, done. And job description engineer, Mumbai, we did that. First name, family name, with their job description on the next line, we got that. And in a larger font at the top of the label. This is done, include my name, and it looks like this. And we have saved our printout. With that, we are done. Task 5, mail merge. Before we start any task, we should really read the entire question. So we scroll down to see, okay, the next page is the next task. So this task has only 3 questions. A letter will be sent to the regional managers. Prepare a mail merge letter using the file RTF as your master document and the CSV file as the source data. You need to insert relevant fields from your source data to replace some text. You will replace today's date and then your name, your center number, your candidate number, proofread, and spell check. Then display the merge field codes and date field code and take screenshot evidence. Letters are required for the regional managers in Bangalore and Chennai. Turn field display off. Merge and print the letters to only these 2 managers. And then print out. And then evaluate the use of mail merge to produce these letters in the evidence document. Okay, so now after reading this, you will have a better idea of what you need to do for the task. So let's get into it. First, open up with LibreOffice. So here you can see the file. Make it smaller. Okay, you see the addresses, the date, the title, regional manager, director, and your name, and so on and so forth. Okay, so before we do anything, now notice that the mail merge, the M16 mail RTF is the original file. So we don't want to mess up the original file. We always want to save the file in the native format of the software we're using, which in this case is ODT. Okay, we save. I had one before, so replace that. And the next step we need to do is to import for LibreOffice Writer to be able to import or pull some of the data that is needed. So you will need this from either a database or some kind of table. So here you go to Tools, and then you go to Mail Merge Wizard. The starting document is the current document. That's good. The document type is letter, and the insert address block. Now, so the address list is where we get the data. So we select that, and then we add the table. So the table is here in Office, and you can accept that, and there you go. There it is, M16 offices. So that's okay. Now, what you don't want to do is to click this, that it contains an address block. Here, in the document itself, in the master document, we already have these fields to replace. So we don't really need this. Next. Again, we don't need salutation because here you can see in the master document, there is already some kind of salutation which we do not need to create extra. And we can finish. That's good, so we can save that. Now what we can do, the data is connected. So what we need to do is to go to View and then Data Source. And you can see here the M16 offices is connected. There's no query, there's only tables, and you can see our tables here. So notice that there are only 10 records. Okay, so that's good. So now our task is to replace this address, these fields that need to be replaced with what is given in the table. So all we need to do is just to drag to where we want it to be, and we are done. And delete the text. Address 2, delete. Address 3, delete. Address 4, delete. Title, delete. And regional manager, and we can delete this. You can add a comma here. And today's date, we can insert date. Now, field and then date. Now we do not know the format of the date, so it's best to go to more fields, and then date fixed, and then it says it has to be day, month, year. So there are 4 numbers for the year, and this looks like it. And we can insert and close. And there you go, we have today's date. Alright, so here maybe we can add a comma. The director is to be replaced with my name, so Cambridge Prep. And this is the center number, CP, we want to call it 001. And then the candidate number as 199999. So this looks correct. So we need to capture evidence of this. So what we need to do is, if you double click on this, you will be able to see this, the edit fields. Now, LibreOffice doesn't show up the text or what is in the table, but what we can do is to create or capture a screenshot of what we have as evidence. So we can have here LibreOffice, and then we capture here, and so you can capture the edit fields table as well, and the table on top, and then the address field which are highlighted. Capture that, and then we can go to our evidence folder file. So file, open with LibreOffice, and then we have our screenshot. Cancel. We have our screenshot to evidence 7, 6, and then 7 right here. So we can drag this in. So we can say this is evidence 7, and we can drag this in. to show the evidence of what we have, and save that. Okay, that's good. And we can cancel, and we can save. Alright, so it seems like we have got what we are required to do. So we have done this. So as usual, we need to check it off. Done this, done this, done this, done this, done this, and done this. That's good. It's a good start. Next, 25. Letters are required for regional managers in Bangalore and Chennai, and turn the field display off, and then merge and print the letters for only these two managers. So the good thing is we know in advance how many we need. Okay, we can go back to our file. What we need to do is, now that we have saved this as the mail merge file, we can print. And here, the dialog box will ask you to print a form letter. You say yes. This is where the software will confirm what table you're using. So check again M16 Office and there are 10 output. And because we only want to have 2 of the managers, we select them, Bangalore and Chennai, as you can see. And you can see that only 2 are selected. We will want to output the file, and then in the downloads folder. Okay, so everything seems to be correct. And click OK, and we can say we can select that M16 mail print that ODT and save. Okay, now we can go back to our Finder. We can open up the print ODT file. Here you should be able to see the 2 items. Alright, so Bangalore and Chennai, and the rest is the same. Okay, so this is correct. So what you need to do is to File, Export as PDF, to save it as PDF, and you print that PDF, and we can keep it as the same name. Go back to Finder and check the PDF. So there you go, the Finder, we have what we need, and there you go. And we can check it here. We have done all this. So 1, 2, merge, and then the printout. So we can call that printout 4 actually. So we can say print out 4. Right, printout 4. And then finally go to the evidence file and type in some answers. And we can go to our evidence file. We can close this. In fact, we can close this as well. It is saved. Cancel that. Cancel the printout. Discard. Yes. Okay, it seems that it has crashed for some reason. But let's try. Open it again. Double click. Again, and we scroll down to evidence 7. If it's there, then it should be okay. And it's there. So the picture is below, so I would usually like to move that downwards. Okay, evidence 8. What we need to do is look at the question. Evaluate the use of mail merge to produce these letters, and then type our answers. Okay. So the advantages, I would say, are that, and then we can add some points as well. The advantages are that multiple letters can be sent out to multiple people, potentially a lot of people. All right, one person can deal with sending in preparing the mail merge letters. All right, and the person, maybe the staff, does not need to know who exactly the people that the letter is intended for, or all the staff needs is the table or database of the recipients of the letters. Okay, and anything else we can add? All right, the staff does not need to type the content of the letter repetitively. Okay, what are some of these disadvantages? Let's have a look. This, oh, why is it smaller? Okay, let's not do this. Disadvantages. And then we can have the bullets. The staff will need to be very familiar with the mail merge software. If not, then the staff needs to be well trained or spend time on the use of the software. Okay, what else? If the database or table it contains incorrect data, then the letter sent out will also be incorrect or be sent to the wrong party. This assumes that the database or table is also updated. Okay, for example, some people might move away from that address. Okay, so in conclusion, using mail merge is a time-saving tool with the right software, but the data needs to be correct and that the staff must be proficient in using the software. That's it, and we can end it here. Okay, and save. And we should be done. So evidence 8, and we are done. Task 6, presentation. You are going to create a short presentation about staying safe online. Presentation should be based on the master slide that you will design. Okay, let's read the rest of the question before we answer. The next page is about printing the evidence document, so I think we can do both, task 6 and 7 at the same time. A company logo is provided for you if you wish to use, and use at least 4 features on your master slide. Text, lines, logos, images, slide numbers, colors or template, and of course your name, center number and candidate number. All master slide items should appear on all slides, okay? Presentation must have a title slide, suitable title and subtitle, okay, on that one slide. Create 3 more slides for the presentation, and each must have appropriate styles and layouts, bulleted text, headings. Contents of the slide should explain what is meant by phishing, identify a phishing attack, how to protect yourself. Make sure that all master slide items appear on all slides, so this is repeated and no objects overlap. Save the presentation and print all slides as audience notes. Okay, interesting. Make sure that the text is easily legible, and then do your printout and may add further screenshots to your evidence document. Okay, so we have an idea of what to do for this task. Alright, so to start off, we can start a new presentation. Alright, so you have a template to choose from, but we're just going to use a blank slide. So close, and then we can choose this. Alright, so this is a blank canvas and we can do whatever we want with it. Okay, so we should really always save our files first rather than after. So we can say task 6, which is presentation. Okay, we save that. So that's done. Alright, then we want to go straight into the master slide to insert the 4 things. Okay, so you can see here that these things are already set up for you. So what we need to do, I think, we can use the date time. We can use the footer to include our candidate name, candidate number, and center number. And we can have the slide number here. And maybe we can insert some graphics and maybe some lines. So let's start. So first, we can insert header and footer. Okay, so we can set a fixed time, and then footer, and then slide number. Okay, so apply to all. And for the footer, we can say our name, Cambridge Prep, and then we have CP001, and then 9999. Okay, we leave it as that. And then the slide number, we can say slide number. And then one thing I want to do is maybe I want to shift this over to this side. And, oh, did I not copy? So copy and paste. Oh, it doesn't work. Never mind. We can insert field, and then we can say fixed date. Okay, and then have a space here. So here we free up the space to insert some other things. For example, the logo that was given to us. So we can insert the image and its logo here. So it takes up a large space, so we can make it small, much smaller, and put it somewhere here. Okay. So that looks good. We can also perhaps insert some lines. So maybe somewhere here to here. Okay, to demarcate the footer. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things, and maybe we can add some color to our text. Get some color to our text. Maybe it can be green. Okay, so we can close the master slide, save this, and it looks good. So we can duplicate the slide to see here, to see whether it's propagated to the other slide. So yep, they are. That's not too bad. Right, so that's done. So let's go back to the instructions. Then we are to create this title slide and suitable title and subtitle. And what we can do is to insert text box. We create a big title, and it says staying safe online. So staying safe online. We want to make it big, say 40, and then we can center it, maybe italics it, bold it, even shadow it, and then give it like a color, maybe like a darker color here. And then we can create another text box. So insert text box again. We can insert text box somewhere here to here. And since this topic is about phishing, so we can say protecting yourself from phishing attacks. Okay. We can center a line and then give it sort of a color, like line. Okay, so that seems okay. And perhaps make it a little bit bigger to be more easily readable. So 24. Okay, maybe I want to shift both of them down. So by just moving both down at the same time. So here, okay. So this looks good. And I think we are done with this. So okay, so that's the title slide, title and subtitle. Okay, let's have a look. So we are done. And 28, 3 more slides. Each must have appropriate styles and layout. And then you have some content here. Okay, so what we can do is we should have some headings. So we can again insert the text box. Maybe somewhere here, yes, somewhere here, a little bit longer maybe, and say what is meant by phishing. So I prepared the text here, so the heading, and we can make it bigger, say 28, and again we can give it a color, say for example blue. Maybe that's too dark. Yeah, that's a bit too dark. Maybe something like this. Okay, what is meant by phishing? And we can create another text box to put in the points. So it seems like it started here, and then we can stretch it here. Yes. All right, and we have the points here. So 1, then give it the next line, and then we can say there's a bullet, and we can increase the space between the points. 18 seems to be okay. Maybe we can make it bigger by saying it's 22. Okay, increase a little bit more, so 0.35. All right, looks good. Okay, so what we can do now is really to duplicate the slide, so because it will look the same, maybe we can also shift it down a little bit. Shift down the whole slide a little bit. Okay, maybe we can do this. All right, it looks okay. Save, and then we can just duplicate it by clicking here. So we can do it twice because we're gonna create 3 slides. And again, we have the text prepared. Select and paste. So how to identify a phishing attack? And then we can have the 3 points. Copy, select all, and then paste. All right. So everything is as it was. So 20 points, and everything, the color. So it was good, and we can do the same by doing this. Select all and paste, and select all and paste it in. Okay. The good thing is we don't have to adjust the distance between the bullet points, and then we can save it. And I think we're done. So it has all this, so we can say this is done and this is done. Okay, so make sure that all slides appear, no objects overlap. I think we are done as well. Okay, but we can always check. Nothing overlaps. It's very clean. Okay, and save the presentation. We have done that. Print all the slides as audience notes and make sure the text is easily legible. Okay, so what we can do is we are viewing the slides now with normal view. And we can what we have done is the master slide here. There's another one we can choose, which is the master notes. So here what we can do is we can create styles for this. So I think I want to create a box. Okay, a box with in this case a little bit of blue color, and that's it. So save this for the time being. Now how does it look like? We can have a look. So we can have the normal view, so notes view. So you can see here that you can click to add the notes. Now what I want to do is to try out, or rather to show you, that if you do not add any notes, this whole area, this notes area, will be blank. So let's have a look. So what you need to do is to export as PDF, and you need to click this export outlines and export export notes pages. Now this is very important. This is what you must click. And if you export, let me just call it task 6, and then it opens up by itself. And then we scroll down, and you can see here it is blank, even though there was a box and there was a text to remind us to insert. So what can we do? So the thing to do is to actually type something in. So audience notes. All right, so you want to do that for all of the text, all of the slides. Okay, all of the slides. You save that, and again you export as PDF. You export, and then you can override it. So replace, and you can see here the slides, slide 1, slide 2. You can see slide 2, and then down the 4th slide, and when it gets to audience notes, and then this is a blank space where the audience can write notes. Okay, so that's very interesting, and I think we are done. So now we have to make a printout. Make sure that the center number and slide number on your presentation slides. So we have already done that. All we need to do is, once you have the PDF, you can just file, print the PDF, and then there are 8 slides. Okay, so cancel. So we have done that. Printout 5. So we can also call it printout 5. So we can go to Finder, and we can say printout 5. So task, so this one is print out 5. That's done. So that's done. And evidence 9, optional, screenshots into if any features that is not shown on your printout 5. Okay, I think we have shown everything there is. The 4 items are there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with the line. So that's done, and we can say we are done. Now we also remember that task 7 is just to print out the evidence folder. So we're just going to cover that. So here we go to our evidence file, and then this is optional. So what we need to do, this is already saved. You can just file, export as PDF, and you can just export, and we can call it the same name and export. So again, so we can check. So evidence 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, which is optional. And there you go. We are done with 6. And that concludes paper 2. So I hope that you had a good time learning this LibreOffice, doing the exam, IGCSE ICT exam on LibreOffice. It is something which is not familiar to many people. Hence, this will be very good for especially schools and students who wishes to use LibreOffice on the operating system of their choice. So good luck, and I hope to see you soon with paper 3.